All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. Thank you guys for joining me today. My name is Alan Abbott, and I will be your host on our Nexus webinar. For those of you who don't know me, I cover the Alabama and Mississippi territory for Carla Thorne and the Paragon team. And today we're going to be focusing on Nexus. Nexus entered the market just over 3 years ago, and since then it has completely changed the industry. We kind of coined it with the nickname the game changer. So at Paragon, we take pride in offering a high quality and high performance transit protection film. It's one of the highest in the industry. Not only do we offer an excellent film, but we're able to differentiate ourselves from the competition because we sell containment. That's really our number one priority when we go in and talk to your customers, is to really sell them containment. That's why our motto is destination secured. So today we're going to cover Nexus versus our competitors, the price wars, the benefits of selling on cost versus selling on price, how Nexus performs. We're going to go over some live field tests we've conducted. We're going to talk a little bit about sustainability, and then we'll wrap up with some technical specs. So as you can see here, I have some competitive advantages listed for Nexus versus other competitive films. And Nexus is a stiff film. And when we say stiff, we don't want our customers to think it's brittle, because they all of a sudden think of film breaks when they hear the word stiffness and brittle. So instead, we want them to focus on the high quality resins that Nexus offers, which brings a high tear and high puncture resistance. And because Nexus is a stiff film, it has a high resistance to stretch. And because of that, it requires more force to actually stretch the film, more force in the carriage as it's going through the pre-stretch rollers. And then as it's paying out film onto the pallet, you have your force to load setting. And because Nexus is capable of stretching further, it delivers more compression on the pallet. And when you have more compression on the pallet, this in turn increases the amount of containment. And Nexus delivers all of this in much thinner gauges. So our goal when we go in and test Nexus and demonstrate it is to achieve the highest containment at the lowest cost possible while securely transporting our customers' goods from point A to point B. And Nexus offers you and your customers this advantage. My favorite thing about Nexus is that it runs on any equipment, anytime, anywhere. And it doesn't matter if it's 15-year-old equipment or if it's a brand new fully automatic running at 50 RPM. Nexus is going to bring you fantastic results and great opportunity for success. So from here, we're going to cover some advantages of selling on cost versus selling on price. We all know that we have that roll price customer that just wants the best roll price. Send it to them, and we'll see how it goes. Instead, Paragon likes to deliver value and demonstrate that in numerous ways. We like to focus and convert the conversation to cost. So what I want us to think about is when we buy gasoline and put gas in our car. If half of us on this call drive 80 miles an hour, and every time we fill up our tank, we're putting in the cheapest gas price per gallon wise, we're only going to get about 20 miles per gallon on a 15-gallon tank. It's about 300 miles per tank. If the other half of us buy more expensive gas and only drive about 70 miles an hour, we're able to achieve a more efficient 30 miles per gallon. So we're getting more yield. On the same car, that's about 450 miles on the tank. Well, just like our film, we want to get more yield out of that. So we can drive the cost per pallet down by using less film and improving containment. So if you take those numbers and you drive 1,500 miles on average in the month, those of us who drive 80 miles an hour at 20 miles per gallon are going to fill up our tank 5 times. The other half of us that are driving 70 miles per hour on the more expensive gas, achieving 30 miles per gallon efficiency, we may only fill up our tank about 3.5 times. Well, you can think about roll changes for this. The more film that is being used and the less optimum the equipment is, you're going to have to make more roll changes, and the amount of film on the pallet is going to be more. You're going to get less yield. Where those of us that are only filling up 3.5 times, we're making less roll changes. The equipment is performing and stretching the film on the pallet much more efficiently than the other film is. So at the end of the year, what does this mean? Those of us that are driving 80 miles per gallon, 80 miles per hour on the cheaper gas, you're getting about 60 tanks per year. Those of us that are using the more expensive gas and driving 70 miles per hour, we're only filling up about 42 times per year. So the higher yield means that your vehicle is performing more optimally. it's costing you less to operate it, and you're able to drive more miles using less gas and filling up less often. This doesn't take into account the time spent at the gas station. So let's talk about film. If we can physically stretch the film further, our goal is to take 10 inches of film and stretch it onto the pallet at 30 inches. That's a 200% on pallet stretch. So an increased yield, just like we're going to drive more miles using less gas, we're going to wrap more pallets using less film. This drives the cost per pallet wrap down, saving your customers money, making you more money, and allowing you to retain that business for a longer period of time. And don't forget, we didn't even mention maintenance for your car. Getting your oil changed every 3,000 miles, at least I hope most of us are. And then you have to also rotate your tires or sometimes replace your tires. This can affect your vehicle's performance, can affect your gas mileage, can affect how smooth or bumpy your ride is, and it also helps you be proactive in diagnosing maintenance issues instead of being reactive and having to react when it's too late and the problems are very severe. Same is true with your customer's equipment. If we're constantly checking in on the equipment, performing film audits, it allows us to diagnose issues and be more proactive. If the rollers are starting to wear down, it's easier to replace the rollers before the film starts paying out too much and we start wasting film, driving that cost per pallet back up. So at Paragon, the oil change scenario, we call this measure, monitor, and manage. We want to measure containment, we can measure on pallet stretch, and we can measure how much film is being used to wrap one pallet. These are all key statistics for our customers to focus on because a lot of them don't already have these standards in place. It gives you an opportunity to add more value to your services and include measuring and then monitoring the data that you're collecting so that you can manage it properly and they can manage it properly. Could we reduce revolutions? If we put new rollers and upgrade the gears, can we lower our cost per pallet wrap? These are all different examples of how constantly measuring and monitoring and manage your customers' film output and their equipment can help you maintain success in those accounts. So we're going to look here at one of our live field analysis that we've conducted. On the left, you had a 80 gauge competitive film going up against the Nexus 55 gauge. We took the initial diagnosis. The machine was performing okay. The on-pallet stretch was 142%, which equaled 45 cents per pallet wrapped, and also had a yield of 93 loads per roll. In the blue column, we were able to achieve a 201% on-pallet stretch and increase the yield from 93 loads per roll to 138 loads. This saved them 137 rolls annually and also showed them some dollar savings in the amount of 43%, almost $5,000. The graph on the right is one of my favorite graphs to show off. We actually took a pallet right off the customer's rack, and it had a cut and weigh of almost 2 pounds, 31.4 ounces. After we optimized the equipment to run Nexus 60 gauge and tested 55 gauge as well, we were able to achieve a cost per pallet of 71 cents per pallet wrap, which showed them savings of 62%. And the biggest thing here was the yield that they were going to achieve by doing so. They're going to use 240 less rolls annually. The other biggest note to take away is the on-pallet stretch when we got there at the $1.86 number was 16%. Yes, 16%. After we were able to dial it into the best of our abilities with the rollers in the shape they were in, we achieved an on-pallet stretch of 169%, thus giving us more yield. We also improved our containment from 19 pounds of force to 37 pounds of force. In this next example, we tested a 80 gauge competitive film against Nexus 55. Our on-pallet stretch was really decent. The machine was in great shape. It had a good on-pallet stretch, good pre-stretch in the carriage. We got 192% with the competitive film. After making a few adjustments and dialing it in for Nexus, we were able to improve the on-pallet stretch to 272%. This reduced the amount of film used on the pallet from 6.2 ounces to 3.3 ounces. Biggest thing for the customer, which is my top priority, was the containment improved on the top of the pallet, the middle of the pallet, and the bottom of the pallet. And we did this by using less film and driving their cost per pallet down from 53 cents to 32 cents. And this only really shows savings related to the film. Because Nexus performed so well during this analysis, it also now gives the customer the option to eliminate corner boards if they choose to do so. We were able to have great containment without crushing, and really could eliminate the corner boards if they choose to do so, which is a huge savings for them. So when we go into a film analysis, the most important thing that we want to do first is establish containment. We want to really watch the competitive film run on the current settings when we get there. It's very important to pay attention how the film is coming out, how it's going on the palette. Is it cloudy? Is it getting any stretch? So establishing that containment and getting a baseline is very important. We also need to know why we're there. What challenges is the customer having? Are they having load shift issues? Are they having containment issues? Is their machine just not performing the way that it should? Are they even aware of that? So learning why you're there is very important too, so you know what challenges you need to overcome. I like to call it leading with their needs. So Nexus has a wide operating window, and in order to deliver the best performance, it needs to be dialed into the existing equipment. Because Nexus is a stiffer film, it's capable of stretching much further than our competitors using less film and a thinner gauge. Nexus also tensilizes very quickly. So this means it's going to deliver increased containment, that high compression that we talked about earlier, in a thinner gauge, which helps lower that cost per pallet wrapped. And again, containment is our #1 priority to make sure we arrive to our destination securely. In this example here, there's a couple things I'd like to focus on. The amount of film used, we went from 9.2 ounces to 5.3. We took the on-pallet stretch from 158% on the current settings and raised it up to 204%. Our containment went up through the roof. We had great success on this account. Biggest thing here was the green bar. So the customer did have bad rollers. They need to be replaced. We also recommended a tune-up, and if they were going to replace the rollers, we recommended that they upgraded the gears from 200% pre-stretch to 250% pre-stretch. So the green column that you're seeing is a prospective potential analysis that the customer has a snapshot of if they choose to make the recommendations that we put forth for them in place. So we can ideally conservatively achieve an on-pallet stretch of 235% with a 250% gear. This will lower the amount of film used again, but in turn, it lowers their cost per pallet even more, all the way down to 40 cents. And that's a great target for us to start at while they make those adjustments and recommendations, and then we'll follow back up and do another test to measure containment and shoot for these numbers. Next, we're going to focus on sustainability. Sustainability is huge today. It's also a great way to get into a new account, is some companies now have sustainability initiatives. Some even have sustainability departments. And with our Paragon tool and our proprietary app, we're now able to quantify this data in real-time reporting. If you don't have access to this app yet, it's part of our 5-star certification program. If that's something you're interested in starting, you can email myself at the end of the presentation or your territory leader, and we can get you on the right track on how to become a 5-star certified Paragon rep. Because our goal is to not only use less film, sell less film, but also show our customers how much waste we can show them. So in this example here, we showed them 7,000 pounds of plastic savings, as well as energy savings of over 13,000 kilowatt hours. The next slide focuses on pollution. So every company wants to be greener and have environmentally conscious protocols. So this is going to help them understand how many pounds of CO2 they're preventing from the atmosphere, as well as how many cubic yards in a landfill they can save. And lastly, we go back to yield. Yield is important. So with a higher yield, you're going to have less rolls used. Your customers and their users are going to have to make fewer roll changes. In turn, with fewer roll changes, we're using less cores. So not only are we saving them 240 rolls in this example, we're keeping 767 pounds of core waste out of a landfill. In this first case study, I'm sure some of you have seen pallets like this. We tested a 63 gauge competitor versus a 50 gauge Nexus. We improved our containment by 34%. We reduced the amount of film used from 4.6 ounces to 3.5, which was 24% reduction. Our on-pallet stretch improved by 4%. And the biggest thing to focus on here was our yield. We were able to wrap more pallets using less film. Before, they were able to wrap 87 pallets per roll. With our Nexus 50 gauge, they can now wrap 162 pallets per roll. In our second case study, this is a lovely grocery distributor. In this example, we tested a 45 gauge Nexus against a 51 gauge. Our containment improved by 27% up to 26 pounds. The film we used on the pallet went from 6.5 ounces to 4.6 ounces. That's a reduction of 29%. Our on-pallet stretch went from 198 to 272%. So in this example, we are using much less film, achieving better containment and improved yield from 89 pallets per roll to 123 pallets per roll. Now, last example is automated newsprint and mailers. This example was done using 30-inch film. So our competitor was a 70 gauge 30-inch 6,000 foot roll. We tested it against a 50 gauge 30-inch Nexus. The containment improved by 36%. The amount of film used was cut more than in half. We went from 11.9 ounces all the way down to 6.8 ounces. The reduction of 57% film used on that pallet. Those are great numbers. Here, the yield improved as well with our stretch. As our stretch went up and we're using less film on the pallet, our yield goes up as well. We went from 67 pallets per roll all the way up to 124 pallets per roll. That's a 46% increase. So we currently offer Nexus in 18 different roll sizes, 40 gauge all the way up to 115 gauge. We have 9 sizes in 20-inch and 9 sizes in 30-inch. All of these come with 3-inch standard cores. On the left is our technical spec sheet. If you guys would like a copy of these for yourself or your team, please don't hesitate to ask and we can be sure to get you a copy. If there's any questions for you, type them in the little box on your right as we're going along. The only question I want to leave you guys with is, why sell Nexus? So in short, Nexus gives you the greatest opportunity for success, and it allows you to continually grow your film business and secure accounts and retain your customers' accounts. And not to mention, it helps you improve your margins. More money. Nexus UVI. This is our ultraviolet inhibitor product. This has all the performance only with UVI protection. For 70 gauge, 30-inch at 6,500 foot roll length. And we also offer a 90 gauge in a 20-inch and a 30-inch at 5,000 foot roll length. Nexus UVI is an extremely weatherable film. It also has the proven dependability of the Nexus line. We spent a lot of time testing this. We even went as far as to put a pallet on the roof of our factory in Oklahoma and tested this as well. So this is a great product if you have a lot of customers that are using outdoor or just need a great weatherable film. Some live examples of Nexus UVI tested against our competitors. So the first example here, we tested our 70 gauge Nexus UVI versus a 90 gauge competitor. In this instance, our cost per pallet went from $1.53 down to 73 cents per pallet wrapped. The savings of 52%, and for this particular customer, that was $41,000. This was also corresponding to the amount of film that was being used on the pallet. We actually cut their film use in half per pallet. We went from 20.9 ounces, that's over a pound, all the way down to 9 ounces. This was also great for the impact and sustainability, reducing plastic waste by 38,000 pounds. The second part of this report is probably one of my favorite ones. As you can see here in the top right-hand corner, we prevented and saved 1.7 million pounds of CO2 from entering the atmosphere through manufacturing process. 1.7 million pounds. Think about that. That's a large number. Any customer would be happy to see that. Not only did we save them 1.7 million pounds of CO2 savings, we saved them 67,000 kilowatt hours in electricity, 725 rolls, and 3,800 pounds of plastic waste. The second example, we tested a 70 gauge Nexus UVI against an 80 gauge competitor. We optimized the machine and drove the cost per pallet from 66 cents all the way down to 36 cents. We delivered them savings of 46%, and the amount of film used, we cut way in half. It went from 8.5 ounces all the way down to 3.8 ounces. The sustainability impact here had great success as well, produced fantastic results, showed them savings across the board from their carbon dioxide emissions, as well as improving their yield. They're going to be able to use 119 less rolls. This is our Nexus UVI technical data sheet. If you don't have a copy or you'd like one, please request one and we'll be happy to get one to you. So in conclusion, this is a great opportunity for you guys to think about other accounts you might have to help you potentially grow your film business using Nexus. So if you have an account, if this presentation made you think of some new ideas or possibly something you'd like to go out and analyze with Nexus, please contact your territory sales leader for more information, get them some data, and we'd be happy to set up a film analysis for you. If you guys like what you saw in your reports today, again, you can earn access to our app by becoming a 5-star certified rep. You can also contact your territory sales leader to get this done. We're all available up here. If anybody is not listed here, please reach out to your territory sales leader wherever you may be watching from today. I appreciate you guys joining me again today. Don't forget, we've got our contrast, cold force, and torque webinars coming up later today. If you don't have an invitation for those or don't have the link, please reach out and we'll be happy to send you another one. Again, my name is Alan Abbott. Just want to thank you guys for joining me today. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us, and we appreciate your time.